And we are returned.
We are returned.
We are returned.
We are faulty products that have been returned.
Returned to Rikenjima as Erika.
That's right. And Anji's all grown up now.
Anji has visited Featherrain once more with Byrne. And they are... You remember she wanted to open the book, but she didn't have the key. And then when she had the key, she didn't have the book.
Yeah. So she literally has to find one or the other in her chosen dimension, I guess.
Yeah, so she chose to go back to Rikenjima with the key. So she has to find Ava's diary.
I got these chemist glasses wipes. We'll see if they're as good as the orange brand.
Are you going to wipe your eyes with them?
No, I'm going to wipe my glasses. Because my eyes are weak and they need protection against the computer screen.
Well, in the meantime, the discussions over Berncastell's reasoning game were getting passionate at each of the tables. At some point, each table had started competing to see which could solve it first. Bernkastel, haven't Anji and Erika arrived yet?
Anjay? Who was Anjay?
Anji.
What if we called her Anjay this whole time?
Anjay.
Sounds so fancy. Anjay. Anjay!
Mariage social. They should have been here by now. Want to make a bet on who arrives first?
I do not have the energy for Lambda Delta. Okay.
I can understand Erica being late, but what about Auntie? Just what kind of pit did you toss her into this time?
How rude. She's sitting on a sofa, sipping tea.
Hopefully the sort of tea you drink suits Angie's tastes.
Good point. How rude. That tea would suit anyone's tastes. Erika would even lick the last drop of my tea from the bottom of a miso pot. Now, part of me's dying to ask how miso comes into the picture.
Still, it's Erika. This will be a long-awaited reunion.
That's right, come to think of it. Can't wait to see how long it'll take her to solve Berncastell's game. This sort of game is what that kid's best at. She'll probably read it from start to finish 3 times, then just say the answer right away. Probably. I look forward to seeing her give the correct answer immediately with that smug look on her face.
Come now, this is Erika we're talking about. She'll probably pull out some twisted logic and say that it was possible for someone other than Battler's family.
Good point. In fact, I'd like to hear her proud, twisted logic even more than the right answer. Apparently, Battler and Beato were looking forward to their reunion with Erika. They had already duelled with Erika in 2 separate games, but now there was no distinction between foes and allies. They truly wanted to welcome her to this party after the show, as a friend.
Still, it's a bit unexpected.
What is?
You know, it's surprising that you'd let Auntie go this easily.
Making sure that Battler and the others couldn't see her face, Lambda Delta sniggered. Is it really so surprising?
Of course it is. I thought that being you'd torture Battler with one tough puzzle after another before releasing her. Or that you'd at least try to give Auntie some weird ideas and have her turn the game around in the end.
She's onto me.
And I thought I knew you better than anyone else in the world. So embarrassing that I was wrong.
I'm sure it is. But don't worry. You obviously do know me better than anyone else in the world.
Yeah, of course. After all, I love, adore, and understand you more than
Madame de Delta was flustered by Berncastell's apparently friendly words, which were very rare coming from her. Battler-sama, pardon me for interrupting your conversation. Anji-sama has returned. Oh, she's back! Great! So, is she okay? It seems that she was soaked by the rain, but Kumasawa is bringing her a towel now. When Battler heard this, he breathed a sigh of relief. Then he turned to face Berncastel, showing her a forced smile, as though apologizing for still suspecting her just a little. Berncastel showed no reaction and simply continued to wear a blank expression with a slight smile.
Anji-sama has returned. I'm back.
Battler, Anji's back.
Anji! I'm glad you're okay. I was worried. She stared at Battler as he dashed towards her with a relieved smile. Anji's expression seemed somehow indifferent. That Battler. It looks like he thought I had you hanging by chains in a cave or something. No. I didn't think you'd go that far.
I was just having some tea at the house of one of Berncastell's friends. It was delicious.
Did it have dried plums or miso in it?
Of course not.
As Anji spoke bluntly, she walked right past her brother and exchanged a few whispered words with Berncastel.
What is it, Battler?
Huh? Nothing. Nothing at all. If he said he was lonely because his little sister was being so cold, Beato would either laugh at him or scratch him. After all, Anji was a girl at that age. She might be in a bad mood for reasons a boy like him couldn't understand. Taking note of this, and having satisfied himself that Anji was okay, he made to walk away.
Battler, Anji is calling for you.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
Oni-chan! I've been trying to get your attention for a while. Don't ignore me.
I wasn't really ignoring you. What's going on with you anyway? You've looked like you were in a bad mood for a while now.
I imagine Berncastel gave her something strange to drink and pretended it was some rare sort of black tea. What is that laugh? Oh my goodness.
I have no business with you. Back off for a bit, would you? I want to talk with Oni-chan alone.
Come, I may not look it, but I am the wife of the territory lord. I'm already far closer to Battler than...
Sorry, Beato. Would you mind leaving us for just a bit? By now, Battler realized that Anji's issue was more than just a slight bad mood. Beato puffed out her cheeks as though she wanted to say something more. However, she just let it out with a sigh and walked away. Is this okay?
It is. After all, this is a game between me and you, right? I'm the player, you're the game master. No matter how many pieces get between us in the end, it's still a direct battle between you and me.
Well, it's true that I'm the game master, but it's not like I'm fighting against you or anything. This final game was held so you could be invited to Rekenjima of 1986.
Games are played to decide who wins and loses. There can be no game unless you have foes and allies. Don't try to trick me.
What are you talking about all of a sudden?
You had me totally fooled. At first, I actually thought you'd take me to that day in 1986. But that wasn't true. This has all been a farce you created, hasn't it? You're using this sentimental tale to dodge the issue and leave me confused. You're trying to chase me out into a lonely future with nothing but this cheap happiness as a parting gift. There's just one thing I've been after since the beginning. what happened on Rikengima that day. And the only answer you gave me was this game. This sentimental party of illusions. It's obvious how you're going to try and answer my question now. I want the truth, and you aren't going to give it to me.
Anji, listen, you've got it wrong.
Don't try and trick me. This game is the final fight between me and you. I want the truth of that day, and you're trying to hide it behind an illusion. It's exactly the same. The setup is no different than those fights between you and Beato. I was about to be chased out of the game board with everything still vague and fuzzy because of you. Well, sorry, but I've already figured out that this game is a battle. Don't think you'll trick me so easily anymore.
Anji's shot tore apart the peaceful atmosphere. The family members and illusions gulped and watched the scene, wondering what was going on. Beato tried to run up to Battler, but he mentioned for her to stay back. What is it you want?
There's only one thing I've ever wanted. The truth of Rikengima in 1986. That's all I'm looking for.
The truth is sealed within the cat box. It can't be reached by someone outside the cat box like you.
Is that why you're trying to trick me with this sentimental illusion?
Yes, this is an illusion. However, I wanted you to remember this fun atmosphere, the harmony within your family. It's not about what happened on the island that day. I wanted you to remember the warmth of these family conferences, a warmth you forgot.
That's just an illusion you're trying to impose on me. I'll reject it and deny it completely.
There is no truth of 1986. The cat box is empty inside. You're looking for something that doesn't exist.
I won't be tricked anymore. The truth of that day does exist. It was written down by the sole survivor and preserved to this very day.
Battler's expression faltered for just an instant, and Anji didn't miss it.
So he was hiding it after all. Oni-chan has been hiding the book of the single truth from me. Aunt Ava! For the first time since your death, I'd like to express my gratitude. Because you wrote down what happened that day, you gave me one last chance at learning the truth.
Anji-chan, you have to listen to me. Everything I wrote in that diary is nonsense, and it doesn't mean...
There's no point trying to deceive me. It's already been proven in red that your diary has the truth of that day in it.
Absurd! How could anyone but Battler, the Game Master, use the red truth?
It's our aura, isn't it?
That's right, and the Book of the Single Truth exists in 1998, the world of the future. Who else could perform the crucial role of confirming its contents with the red truth?
I heard everything from Bancastel. I've been fooled by you long enough. I don't want some sentimental illusion. I want the real truth. And no matter how hard you try to cover it up in 1986, I can expose it in 1998. After all, you are the Beatrice of 1986, Oni-chan. And I am the Beatrice of 1998.
A cyclone rose up around Anji. It was a golden swirl of gold butterflies. Just like the Golden Witch Beatrice.
Oh, do we get an outfit? Oh, we just evolve. Oh, we get an outfit! Ooh. I am Anji Beatrice of 1998, the final Golden Witch. No witch of the past can defeat a witch of the future.
I'm not sure if it's a different outfit to the original sprites. I can't remember.
The original sprites had her in her school uniform though.
Yeah, but for this,
Oh.
episode 8. Like, I thought it was green, kind of like what she was wearing as a child, but a bit fancier and different. I'm not sure if I'm just remembering it wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
The cyclone of gold broke apart, and as gold leaves scattered across the room, the final witch, who would inherit Beatrice's name in the future, appeared.
Angie, Beatrice.
You're the golden and endless witch. But I'm different. I'm the golden witch of truth. No illusion can stand in my way. Yes, this is the end of Oni-chan's boring party. Now it's time for my party to start. I've even readied a game to liven things up. You're up, Aunt Ava.
When Angie snapped her fingers, she vanished along with a swirl of gold butterflies.
Oh no.
Replacing her in the middle of that cyclone was a girl wearing a dress, bowing modestly.
I can't remember her voice. She's so evil.
You!
That's pretty rude, you know. Inviting everyone to the party except me.
You're Ava.
The sole survivor of Rikenjima.
Just dying even at... even when she was this young, she was dying. Too much vaping.
And the witch of the future, the golden and endless witch from 1980.
Wait, I can't remember her voice. Let me try this again. Cut the whole bit out.
That's fine.
I need water.
Hey, you know how to do Kinzo.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I just choked on air.
Yeah, welcome to Kinzo. It's the same.
I had it and it's gone.
The sole survivor of Rikenjima and the witch of the future, the golden and endless witch from 1986 to 1998. In the world of the future, Battler-kun's sentimental illusion is more fragile than a flake of snow on a lake. Okay, let's have some fun. Come, try to remember, all of you. Remember your endless theory making.
When Ava held her hand to the heavens, light gathered there and took the form of a bottle. Yes, a bottle. A glass bottle with no label. There was no alcohol inside. Sealed within it was a fragment that let off a pale, sinister light.
Battler, this is bad. She must not smash that bottle.
Okay, it's showtime.
The bottle was slammed against the floor and smashed to pieces. As soon as the fragment within it touched the outside air, it flashed white and burst. At first, it seemed that nothing had happened. However, Ava grinned at them before becoming a cloud of butterflies and vanishing. At some point, Berncastel must have vanished as well.
Berncastel was like, alright, I'm out.
What did she do?
It was probably a fragment she brought back with her from the world of the future. Perhaps we could call it the contents of the cat box in the future.
What does all this mean? What? At that moment, they heard a thundering roar. It was as though large chunks of hail had stopped falling everywhere. An earthquake accompanied that noise, and the whole mansion creaked. Dust began to fall from the ceiling. At the same time, it seemed as though the curtain-covered window glowed with a pale light.
What on earth is going on? Which one's Leviathan again?
We always forget Leviathans. She's Envy.
Kyrie, look outside! What the hell is that?
Everyone rushed to the window in response to her voice. Of course, Battler and Beato went too. That looks nice. Then they drew the curtains, looked at the scene outside, and were stunned into silence. Oh, beautiful!
Of course, Kinzo's.
I'm just waiting for him to burst into flames now. It's just on cue.
Ah!
Kinzo's words echoed the first impression felt by all who looked out at the scene beyond the windows. Not all beauty is benign. They always say that beauty has thorns, ne? Though everyone found the scene beautiful, they all sensed impending misfortune from it. Outside the window, countless small objects, pale glowing fragments of crystals, lay strewn about everywhere like fallen hail. The word fantastical perfectly summed up the scene that lay before them in that glowing rose garden. I saw something move over there.
Hey, is there someone over there? Wait, huh? A person just grew out of that glowing fragment. 7 Sisters of Purgatory! Battle formation!
With those words of Lucifer's, everyone finally realized that they were being surrounded by danger.
It's goats.
More
Of course
goats.
it's goats. Why is it the goats? They always feel like they're getting more muscly.
I don't know, now is the time to ask, but like, what do you think of the goats?
I wish that we didn't have them. They are a bit disturbing. They've always been disturbing.
What do you think they are?
I'm not sure because in previous games they have been characters that have been wearing a mask. So they haven't been like goated people. So I don't know if that's a theory that the goats are how do I describe that they are I don't know, previous character fragments or other like demons or witches. Potentially maybe they've come born out of fragments, so maybe they are like the previous incarnations or reincarnations of like players from the past games.
Okay. So I don't actually know what they are. I read someone's theory on them that they are perhaps like they're kind of like a filler, so they can serve whatever purpose is needed from them for like whatever the story is. So like because we've seen them do a number of things. We've seen them as characters. We've seen them as like just other witches and like demons in masks. But like at the same time, they've been used like Anji's classmates in the previous chapter.
Yeah, that's true.
And the witch hunters, I guess we had like, because we had her classmates, and we also had like the goats saying, "Oh, Rudolph's family culprit theory" and all that stuff. And then there's like from episode 2 where they're introduced. Cannon Fight's one, I think.
So are they basically just like the ultimate NPCs?
Yeah, kind of, maybe. Like, I think in episode 2, I don't know if you remember, but at the very end, it's just Rosa and Maria left, and they're like running away from all these goats. And she's fighting them off with a gun and like a fountain pen and stuff. And I think in that situation,
a fountain pen.
Yeah, she used a fountain pen, and she like used it as like a knuckle duster and stabbed the goat with it. But like in that situation,
in that case.
yeah. Nothing but a pen. And a block of gold and a gun. But like, so they were running away from the goats, and I think that was kind of like they're running away from the explosion of the island. And that's what the goats were filling in for, because it was like a magic scene.
So the goats are
So they
literally like
represented-
the ultimate question mark.
Yeah, I think they just represent what is needed of them for the situation.
Does that mean they're kind of like the cat box? Like, once the cat box truth is revealed, then their, like, masks are unveiled? Like, what is behind the mask becomes unveiled? Because you, like, is it kind of like that?
Maybe not quite as literally in that sense, but I can kind of see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, a little bit I can see, yeah. Oh yeah, that's just it's an interesting theory I read about them. One by one, the countless fragments shook and burst, and large dark bodies rose up from inside each. They were giants with goat heads. One after another, they appeared from the insides of broken fragments. Those fragments lay all over the rose garden in vast numbers and made the ground glow, so that everyone inside was forced to shudder. 45. Wide area surveillance.
But my radar's filled with white. We're either being jammed or the vast number of readings is making a count of enemy numbers impossible.
Even as she said this, the glowing rose garden outside the window was being filled with giant goats. The fragments carrying the goats weren't just in the rose garden. They were spread evenly across the entire island. Not just the rose garden, but the entire area around the mansion was being covered with goats by now.
That's gross.
Allow us to speak.
Know that we are completely surrounded.
Yeah, we noticed.
What'll you do now, Butler?
Only one thing to do with uninvited guests. Let's chase them off.
Why is Maria always so like, hey, what are you gonna do?
Not just Maria. She's always been like this.
I know. It's just weird when she's like on the other side of who you think she's supposed to be allied with.
Well, I mean, she's allied with Beatrice always.
True.
And Battler's on Beatrice's side here. Who are these people? I'm guessing these aren't your minions, right, Beato?
The goat forms they hold are probably just imitations of the pieces on this game board. They aren't Rick Cheese or Leah's minions. This is something worse.
I see. So they are manifestations of message bottles.
See, there's something different here. Message bottles? The ones Beato made? Not quite. These are fragments of what people in the future have imagined.
Endless possibilities are hidden within the cat box. Because of that, those outside the box can imagine the insides to be any one of an infinite number of things. It would seem those endless delusions are the true form of these creatures. But what will those goats do to us? I wonder.
It doesn't look like they're here to give us a handshake and a pat on the back.
Those people, those lowlives making up and passing around stories, imagining the tragedies that might have unfolded around us on this island. They found it so fascinating that I never talked about the truth. They kept on creating tragedies one after another for their own enjoyment.
I see. So, they're fragments from the future, imagining the catbox of 1986 however they please.
In the world of the future, any and all interpretations can and do exist. Unless we deny them, everyone will be able to claim that their own view is the truth, and they will remain on this island.
Oh. What a fix we're in.
Looks like we're surrounded and fighting for our lives.
I haven't seen this background before either. What are they doing?
They're eating. They're eating something.
They're eating the roses? The crowd of goats was squirming about and doing something. If you looked closely, you could see them sticking their heads into the rose bushes and munching away.
That was very goat-like behaviour.
And it wasn't just rose bushes. Light poles, the bricks of the flower beds, and even the stone paving itself. They were biting all of it, almost as if they were trying to eat up the whole island.
No, they aren't just eating.
If they aren't eating, what are they doing? That is not eating. They are eroding it, shaving away at the edges. The edges of the game board itself.
They're eating the game board?
In the world of the future, everyone believes we were swallowed up by tragedy today. That's why they won't accept a truth where we enjoy ourselves in peace. Truths of the past are subordinate to truths of the future. The merciless future fangs and jaws of those goats refuse to accept our truth and are eroding it, replacing it with the kind of truth they expect.
Damn it. This is our truth. It's not for those people in the future, who have nothing to do with us anyway, to write as they please. The garden outside the window was now filled with too many goats to count, all chewing away. The repulsive scene stole the words from everyone's lips. They weren't stunned into silence. There was just no point in making a fuss and letting the goats know a certain fact. No point in letting them know that there was plenty of prey waiting in this bright, warm room, prey that was softer and easier to chew than roses or bricks.
That goat there, he's looking at us.
Silence. Don't make a fuss.
It's coming this way. Dear me, this does not look good. Do you know what would be more creepy is if they actually had like... Oh, I guess they kind of do. You know goat's eyes, they've got like... It's like the sideways, like... Just... The pupil is differently shaped.
Yeah.
If they made it more like goatee eyes shaped, that would be really scary.
Goats.
They're fine when you look at them as a whole, but when you like look closely up at their eyeballs and like...
Well, I mean, the reason they picked goats is because they're often...
Eating things?
No. What's the word? I mean, for Umineko, our occult-loving series,
Yeah.
goats are like usually
Sacrificed.
related to occultish things.
Yeah.
Like the devil has goat horns, and there's lots of depictions of him with like goat eyes even and stuff like that.
What did the goat do?
They just look evil. I think that's it.
They look evil.
It's just the
I don't
eyes.
know if they look evil, but they do look very creepy when you like stare at the eyes. It's
Yeah.
just- yeah.
I don't know. They saw one of the newly born goats head slowly towards their window.
Newly born. A baby goat.
No, I think it just means it had just come out of a bottle, essentially. There was already a huge swarm of them in the garden, so it was no surprise that when one of them looked around for new prey, it would see the light from this window. Its immense, eerie body slowly approached. As it grew closer, they could finally see it clearly. The eyes blazed, despite being cold, ruthless, and reptilian. Those cruel fangs and jaws could tear apart and crush anything. Any fangs that could chew through brick would hardly have a problem chewing through humans. Its massive body had to be taller than the windows themselves, and it was lumbering towards this window. If only this window was made out of special Ushiromia bulletproof glass.
I doubt even bulletproof glass would stop that thing.
Whoa! It's coming! It's coming! It's running towards us!
Oh, Cornelia here to save the day. I'm getting dizzy. Hang on, give me a second. Is this a new soundtrack as well?
Yeah.
I haven't heard this one before.
I think.
Cornelia's got a theme?
No, it might have been in 6 as well. I can't remember. It's either new or 6.
Allow me to speak.
I'm trying.
Know that this window shall not be breached.
The power of Cornelia's seal formed a shield around the glass. The goat was blown back, unable even to touch the glass because of this power. Its weight made the earth tremble. They could feel that clearly, even inside. But that tremor had also drawn the attention of the nearby goats. A pack of goats started shuffling towards them, and a fight broke out as they each charged forward, trying to reach this new prey first. The window protected by Cornelia's seal would probably be safe. However, there were many windows in the Great Hall. For the first time, those windows became a source of terror instead of sunlight and a lovely view.
Gertrude.
Allow me to speak. Know that this window shall not be breached. Gertrude sealed another window. The goats trying to break in through that one were thrown back. But at the same time, they heard the crash of yet another window being smashed, scattering fragments of glass everywhere. The massive goats broke through the window frame and entered the building. Oh jeez.
They just slapped Gona. It was like, psh, with the back of my
Allow me
hand.
to serve you! Whoa! Stay back, everyone! Stay back!
Look,
All
even
the
their thighs
first.
have gotten more muscly, Jackie. Like, what is the deal with the
They
author
work
and these
out. They don't
goats?
skip leg day. On the first twilight, the 6 chosen by the key. Those words really were coming from the goat's mouth, along with a steaming foul breath. However, it didn't get a chance to say any more.
Which one is this?
Forehead, neck, shoulder, chest, side, gut, knee. The stakes of the 7 sisters buried themselves in deep, one after another.
What rough, unappetizing flesh for piercing! I'd hate to have to gobble up any more of these.
The other windows shattered one after another, and several goats squeezed their way in through the window frames. Their mouths were still stuffed with the bricks they had just been snacking on. Each time they chewed, it made a ghastly sound like bones being crushed.
What was your thoughts at the time when, like, you were reading this for the first time? Were you just like, what on earth is happening?
No, more or less makes sense.
Oh, fine. Usually you're just like, oh, okay. Goats. Interrupting.
We will repel them.
Shiesta troops, prepare for close-range combat. Stop. You start firing away and we'll have all the other goats coming to join the party.
Let's fall back to the second floor. If we can seal the staircase, that'll buy us some time.
Everyone, upstairs! Hurry! After sniffing noisily, as though scanning the smells around them, the goats started chewing on whatever chairs, tables, or curtains were close by. The goats would chew anything to bits as long as it was near them. If the others were careful not to attract the goats' attention, they would be able to escape from this place. The humans ran on ahead, up to the second floor, while the illusions, who were used to fighting, guarded the rear. The goats were completely absorbed by their feast on everything in the hall. By now, they were even brutally chewing away at the portrait of Beatrice, which could fairly be called the symbol of the Ushiromir family itself.
Battler, the humans have all taken refuge on the second floor.
So it's kind of like this game of battlers is being like
Undone.
overwhelmed by the countless like
Yeah.
stories and theories of the future to say like, oh no, this isn't what happened. This isn't true. Family wasn't happy like this. Good. Dilnor, seal all the staircases.
Gertrude and Cornelia will handle it. However, they need more time.
All over the mansion, there were loud beating sounds that might be called knocks and the sound of shattering glass. Well now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for work.
7 Sisters of Purgatory right here! Let's go, you lowlives! Tonight it's all you can eat!
Shiesta troops, hold all external tasks, cancel automatic updates, accept no data, take no prisoners.
Eisenjungfrau of the 7th District, by the Territory Lord's order, carry out your duty.
I'll lend a hand. Leon, you're in the way. Go up to the second floor.
But, Will... Leave this to us and go. You have your own job to do. Protect your family.
I understand. Everyone, stay safe.
The mansion was filled with the sounds of knocking, crushing, smashing, and chewing. The goats and their wave of destruction was drawing steadily closer.
Lord Battler, Gertrude and Cornelia have finished sealing the other staircases. The large staircase here is the only one that remains. The other staircases are tiny, so they went first. On the other hand, this staircase is huge. Looks like you'll have your hands full buying time.
Lambda Delta spoke as though it was someone else's problem. It only took a glance at her face to see that she had no intention of lending a hand. Even so, Beato didn't scold her. This was a game between Battler and Argy. Lambda Delta was only a theatergoer who had been invited.
Don't think badly of me. Even I'd die if I was torn apart by nothingness. Sorry, but I think I'll stick to being an observer.
That's what you've always been. Though it is a shame that we can't ask for your help.
Nah, she's being nice. Doesn't want to steal our show.
Sure, let's call it that.
As a Voyager wish, Lambda Delta could retreat from this game board of battlers if she wanted to. In other words, she was the only one who wasn't in trouble now.
See you later. I think I'll watch this game between you and Burn to the end. I'll be waiting for you.
As you munch on popcorn.
Of course. I think I'll have some soy sauce butter flavor today.
Lambda Delta vanished with a pop. As soon as she did, a black hole opened up in midair, and Garp fell out of it.
Battler, Richie! Could you come here for a second?
You should probably see this.
Oh my gosh, I hate Garp's voice, like, it's so hard.
Right now?
Yes.
Let's go. Everyone, we're counting on you to hold this position.
When Garp snapped her fingers, a large hole opened up under Battler and Beato, swallowing them both. They were spat out into an inky blackness. Both of them were floating in the night sky. Rekenjima lay far beneath them, and as soon as they realized this, they shuddered.
This is...
It's not just a crowd, it's a sea. It was no longer a crowd of goats, but an entire sea of them. Just as Rekenjima poked out from the ocean, the mansion was now poking out from a sea of goats.
People in the future really are amazing. Just how many of them have imagined the tragedy on this island?
It's nothing more than the worthless drivel of those outside the cat box. Let's clean this place up.
Look over there. It's hard to tell, but look at that shoreline.
The shoreline?
It's easy to make out the harbour. The harbour, not Naba. Look closely. See it?
Don't tell me.
Yeah, you're probably right. They're eating it. Eating the whole island.
Come, try and remember fragments of the future. If only you just chew up all the embellishment, all the illusions, all the fantasy.
As Ava yelled this to the heavens, hovering about the raging sea, hail fell down with a pale glow. Each was an unlabeled bottle with a fragment inside. They poured onto the island, were smashed to bits, and the fragments inside them scattered everywhere.
Is this kind of like fourth wall breaking? Because it sort of like alludes to the theories that everybody makes up as well, and
Yeah, probably. You could see it as people reading Umineko being involved in the story.
yeah.
Every now and then, the fragments would split in two, then split in two again, and every single one of them burst and gave birth to a massive goat. To say it was like a bamboo shoot springing up after the rain would be a vast understatement. The goats writhed about like bubbling, boiling water in a pot. They ate away at everything they saw. They didn't just eat the arbor, but the trees and rocks, the entire coastline itself. Hundreds, thousands, no, tens of thousands of goats continued to eat. They were chewing away at every bit of Rokkenjima, of this final game that Battler had prepared.
Too bad, Butlerkun. The future wants a tragedy on this island. Even Angie wants the truth. Don't worry, we'll chew up all the embellishment, illusions, and fantasy for you.
By now, Battler and the others had to admit it. The future wanted a tragedy. Even if the truth of this island had been a gentle, peaceful thing, the future didn't want that. The truth they wanted was painting over the past.
The past is such a fragile thing. Even the cat box is being chewed apart.
Just who are these people? Are they really so determined to plunge us into a tragedy?
That's all I wanted to show you. Hope this helps a bit when you're making strategic decisions.
Yeah, thanks. Now I feel like crap.
Then let's go to the study next, if you don't mind. Goldsmith wants to talk to you.
Garp snapped her fingers, and another black hole swallowed them up and spat them out in the study.
Oh. Garp, if you're gonna drop me, at least do it on a bed.
Grandfather, we're in trouble. There's absolutely nowhere left to go. I know. And even waiting out the storm from here is not an option.
Runaway and the others should be able to buy us some time, but that's all.
If they just holed up in the mansion, it would only be a matter of time before the swarm of goats got them. Trying to repel a few of the goats barging into the mansion would be like using a cup to bail water from a boat with a hole in it.
We can fight defensively for a while, but it's only a matter of time.
We need to think of something while we fight. Can we escape? Where to? Is there any way for us to leave the game board?
The outside of the game board is beyond the range of our territory. Only a Voyager witch could leave.
Only Bernkastel and Lambda Delta could do it. However, there was no way Bernkastel would help. Even Lambda Delta had already announced that she would be an observer instead of lending a hand. So, there's nowhere left to run. No, there is just one place. Where? The Golden Land.
I see. Oh, Mum's calling me. Can you go back, sorry? Is that our only option now?
Indeed. The Golden Land is the most impenetrable place on this game board. If we wish to escape, it's that or nothing.
These things are eating the cat box itself. For all we know, they might start chewing away at the Golden Land itself at any moment.
What should we do, Battler?
No point thinking about it. We're retreating. If we take too long to make a decision, even that road will be closed to us. Evacuate everyone. How can we open the door to the Golden Land?
I just have to open it. However, an immense wave of the anti-magic toxin is emanating from that crowd of goats. It will take some time to open the door.
So, we've only got to protect this study with our lives until the door's open. Just have to keep doing what we've been doing.
There's one more problem. The door to the Golden Land cannot be shut unless two people close it from the outside.
Two from the outside? What do you mean? As soon as he said this, Battler realized. This must be the result of some agreement made between the three witches who are one.
Normally, there's no need to go to the trouble of shutting the door. But it won't be so easy this time.
Only you and Beato can fulfill the role of shutting the door. Me, as the Territory Lord, and Beato. Yeah, it sounds like the safest choice.
Indeed. If it's just the two of us, we might even be able to protect ourselves.
Okay, open the door. Beato waved her pipe, leaving a golden trail behind as she sliced the air vertically. Then, the gap of the door to the Golden Land appeared. It looked like nothing more than a thin gold string hanging from the ceiling. If you looked closely, you could see that the string was getting thicker and very slowly. The door to the Golden Land certainly was opening, but so slowly that you couldn't even tell if you weren't careful. At this rate, it would probably take quite some time before it grew big enough to let a person through. Grandfather, Garp, we'll need you to be in a line of defense.
Yes, there may be goats climbing up the outer walls.
Very well. My throat. My rifle hungers for some prey.
Understood. It'll be fun dropping those things into the abyss. Oh.
A giant was sliced at an angle, split into two parts, and fell to the floor, showering it with filthy dark blood and guts.
Splendidly done.
I'll let you take the next one. Countless massive goats, which had forced their way in from rooms and windows all across the mansion, wandered about in search of something to chew.
Delano looks so bored.
Several of the goats noticed the group of people huddled around the staircase and lumbered closer, but they were pulverized by merciless attacks. Ronove's shields easily halted the charging goats, and Virgilia's magic spears were pinning the giants against the walls. Delanor's and Will's blades were also slicing easily through the goats. The pinpoint strikes of the Seven Sisters of Purgatory could pierce the vitals and finish off any opponent, no matter how large. The Shiesta sisters were holding their own too. They had blasted enough goats to bits with one shot from their high-caliber firearms that you couldn't count the kills with both hands. Given a limited number of opponents, they were more than a match for these goats. However, they weren't just up against a crowd, but an entire ocean. It was like a pebble trying to face the approaching waves of a stormy sea. Hurry on that gun barrel replacement. Requesting cover from the Purgatory troops.
So you run out of ammo when you're nothing but rabbits. Lame!
I don't want to hear that from a bunch of 7 paperweights who can only kill one person at a time, yeah? Yeah, keep them coming. Don't let us get bored. The hall was filled with massive goat corpses. As if in fear of the sight, the goats that came in one after another formed a wall, keeping their distance.
Perhaps they think they're no match for us. I wish that were true. but it seems to be little more than wishful thinking. What are those guys doing? They're looking at us and whispering to each other.
Sloth.
Apparently, they have the intelligence to talk together and cooperate.
The goats surrounded them at a distance, whispering. Then they nodded at each other as though deciding something, and the whole group stirred. What are they doing? It almost looks like they're lining up in a different order.
The enemy is changing its formation. It appears that the individuals with greater destructive power are being gathered in the front lines. So what? Let's go! Yes, One-sama.
Wait, something's wrong.
Lucifer took aim at one of them, going for its forehead. The other 6 sisters followed her lead, trying to pierce the vital organs all over the creature's body. However, there was no sound of pierced flesh. The 7 sisters of Purgatory were knocked back, unable to cause even the smallest wound.
What? What just happened?
I don't know. What's this one?
Gluttony.
Those guys are talking about something.
The goats kept whispering the same thing over and over as they slowly approached the 7 sisters. All of them whispered unanimously. All fantasy is fictional. The 7 sisters of Purgatory are illusions, personifying stakes for ceremonial sacrifices. They're actually paperweights. They're actually paperweights. As they whispered curses that denied the 7 sisters' existence, the goats lumbered closer.
Get back, Purgatory troops! We'll cover for you.
It's time you learned a lesson. Goats! The golden bows of the Siesta's troops mowed down the wall of goats with shower of bright golden bullets. Some of the goats were torn to pieces, but some of them seemed completely unaffected. Then the goats who were uninjured all whispered as one. The Chiesta sisters, Imperial Guards, have Maria's rabbit dolls as their vessels. They're actually rabbit dolls. Maria's imagination, fantasy, fictional beings. All of the crimes can be explained by mystery. All fantasy is irrelevant. It looks like.
We've got lots of people who won't accept the existence of magic.
And that means.
No magical attacks will have any effect on them. Does that mean all of our attacks will be completely useless?
Endless line, yeah? If they don't accept that we exist, our attacks can't hurt them, yeah?
Is that possible?
We'll have to test it.
Renove stepped forward, stamped on the floor twice, and a red barrier rose up in front of him. The crowd of goats dashed into it with a terrifying force. While some goats were blown away by it, several of them slipped right through the magical barrier. Renove is a creature of magic, a creature of fiction. Genji is Renove's vessel. He's an imaginary version of Genji. I see. So even my attacks will not affect some of them. There was no longer any point in Virgilia trying out her magical power, or spear. Now that some of the goats had decided that her existence was fictional, she could no longer hurt them. Even these great demons and great witches, as well as high-level furniture and weapons, were overcome with fear of the crowd that surrounded them, a crowd that would not be affected by any of their attacks.
Well, what are we going to do?
We'll keep fighting until the end. You don't have permission to die in battle. Fantasy is all fiction. Fantasy is all fiction. Fantasy is all fiction. A shriek from one of the goats became a signal for the wall of them to break. They pushed forward with gaping mouths and foul breath, each trying to reach their prey first, trying to return these fictional creatures to nothingness.
Look out!
Vigilia leapt in front of
No,
held
Vigilia! No,
and held
Vigilia!
several of the seven sisters who had fallen on their butts, overpowered by the ferocity of the approaching goats. However, even Vigilia was a fictional creature to these goats. They could chew through her like cotton candy. Madame, quickly! Ronave threw himself at the oncoming goats. Even he would be chewed apart easily. Knowing this, Ronave leapt forward. Even if my magic no longer functions, I am still the fiercely passionate and loyal man I always was. And furthermore, did you expect that I would simply sit by and watch a lady die?
Ronave is fantasy. Ronave is fantasy.
Ronave slammed his right fist into the side of a goat's face. As soon as he pulled it back, he swung his left leg into the goat's gut, then spun around into a reverse roundhouse that caught the goat again. Ronave knew he could do less damage than a mosquito bite against those who didn't accept his existence. This was the height of anti-magic and defensive power. Endless line.
Ronave is fantasy, a fiction, an illusion.
Why does
The
the goat
goats-
start to sound like Kinzu?
Kinzo, yeah. The goat swung its log-like fist with a sound like a storm. Ronave dodged by a hair. Had he been an instant slower, that massive arm would have crushed his head like glass.
Run away! Stop this! Run!
I, Ronave, cannot help but rise to the challenge when I see a lady in a pinch. A bad habit of mine.
Ronave grinned and tried to act tough. He had already sacrificed all he had. There was nothing he could do here and now except become a shield to buy time.
He's gonna make the tea in the Golden Land!
He had already chosen to abandon his life for this.
Ronave is fantasy. He couldn't exist. He couldn't possibly exist.
Illusions do not exist. They do not exist.
Fantasy is all ridiculous. Ridiculous.
The goats kept coming, trying to feast on Ronave. None had any pretensions of making this a one-on-one fight. Nothing mattered except chewing apart fantasy. Even just a nibble. As they gnashed those ruthless jaws and fangs, they closed in around Ronave. Ronave's foot hit something and he stumbled. At the same instant, several massive arms reached out and lifted him up.
Run away, Summer! What are you doing? She has to shoot them!
If that'd do anything, we would have done it already. Yeah. Everyone, please stand back. I should be able to buy you some time as they savor my flesh.
Oh dear.
However, I think they'll find that Ronave has quite a few little bones in him.
An elbow rammed itself into the massive hideous jaws that were trying to chew Ronave's head. Of course, the goat did moan, but that did nothing but deprive just one goat of his right to the first bite of Ronave's head. Many jaws opened wide, trying to crush him and throw him down into those heartless stomachs, which would permit no cheerful illusions to exist.
I won't accept fantasy. I won't accept.
It's possible to explain everything with a mystery. Possible.
Fantasy is fake. Everything is mystery.
All of the many arms that lifted Ronave up were sliced off. The seven sisters used this chance to fly forward and grab Ronave, dragging him back.
Which of you mentioned mystery? Does Dinaloro's blade work on them?
I see if our foes are calling it a mystery. Blood-red longsword in hand, Delanor slowly walked forward. Behind her walked Will, tapping his back with his black blade.
If you don't think this is a fantasy, then let's have your theories.
I cannot wait to hear your explanations.
Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
The crowd of goats stepped back. Though they had been so vicious against the illusions, they stepped back when faced with this pair wielding swords of mystery.
There have been a great many closed room murders on this game board. Choose whichever you please, and we will parry all of your attacks.
No, we don't have to defend anything.
Indeed. The purpose of a mystery is to offer a challenge. There's no need for us to play defense.
Do you get it yet? You're the ones in the hot seat now.
Dual wielding.
Well, she's always done that. Blue truth cut the goats apart. That blue truth dwelt within each and every one of the riddles from Beato's game so far. What about the closed room with the chain? First game, second twilight. What about the closed room with the chapel? Second game, first twilight. What about the trick to killing Nanjo? Third game, ninth twilight. There was no end to the blades. Imagine if this was animated.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. But this wouldn't have been in the currently existing anime.
That's what I'm saying. If only that made a second season. I don't even care about the first, just do a second. The countless riddles Beatrice had left behind became blades, challenges that tore the goats apart. If they wanted to deny fantasy, they would have to make a counter-argument. They would have to deal with every single trick as a mystery. However, while most of the goats called themselves anti-fantasy, they hadn't thought up any answers for the mystery. Though every now and then, goats with answers did appear.
Someone outside the Ushiremiya family was hiding on the island, and...
Nox is first. It is forbidden for the culprit to be anyone not mentioned in the early part of the story.
There were multiple culprits all working separately, and it just happened to look like a single culprit.
Vandine's 12th. There must be but one true culprit.
You mean everything but that is forbidden?
Boring, right? To have a genre like that? Personally, I think mysteries should be more flexible.
The 10 Nox commandments and the 20 Vandine rules are behind the times.
The definition of the mystery genre should change with the era. And now they get uppity.
Perhaps we are behind the times.
In that case, let's see if you have any theories that can satisfy us.
Come.
The whole crowd of goats charged them. With their in their fangs, each of them carried theories to crush Beato's closed rooms. The bodies of these goats differed from those who had become corpses so easily. They had mystery-style answers to several closed rooms, so it would take several blade hits to give them a fatal wound. However, Beato had left many blades behind. All of them were exceedingly sharp. So, the pair of Inquisitors didn't think this would be a desperate battle. This is a mystery. The goal is to use all your imagination and knowledge to challenge each of the riddles head-on. Doing so is the greatest pleasure of the mystery genre. So they laughed. Both Will and Dillinor laughed. With smiles of admiration at the theories the goats had put everything they had into, they encountered with blades from all the closed rooms. The crowd of goats was no longer an encirclement, but a great wave threatening to swallow their pair up. And yet, the pair repelled the enemy without giving an inch. They resisted firmly, cutting through the wave of wailing goats. It was like an ice-breaking ship knocking a path through a frozen sea.
They entered the closed room through a hidden passage that no one else could use, and...
Nox is third. It is forbidden for hidden passages to exist.
After the hidden passage was used, it was welded shut and became unusable, so no hidden passages existed at the time of inspection.
Nox's 8th. It is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented.
These are all fake murders, so no one is actually dead. So all closed rooms were constructed by the so-called victims.
Delano hesitated for just an instant. After all, this cliched and simple theory managed to get around both Beato's closed rooms and the Nox commandments. Delano saw nothingness inside the goat's massive jaws.
Vandine's 7th. It is forbidden to have a crime without a corpse.
The goat's jaws seemed to close around Delano's head. However, the upper and lower jaws were no longer connected, so the upper half merely slid off to the side.
I guess even the great Nox forgot to forbid fake murders.
There are many splendid mysteries besides murder. That's true.
The goats weren't about to back off and let the pair have a nice long chat about the mystery genre. The next massive figure immediately enveloped them. Will's blade drew a diagonal slash across its chest, but it only cut through its clothes, leaving no wound.
Huh? The 20 wedges don't work on this one.
Delano also hit it with their longsword, but still, it just cut its clothes without leaving a mark on its body. Could this goat have a theory that doesn't violate Nox or Vandine?
Nox and Vandine are meaningless. All closed rooms can be explained by a single solution. After all.
In an attempt to stop the goat from saying any more, Will and Delano hit it with blades from every closed room, as well as stakes from the 10 Commandments and the 20 rules. But none of them had any effect.
Don't tell me you're going to say magic is real.
Slowly, the goat clenched its massive fists together and raised them up high.
After all.
Will.
With a roar, Will slammed into the goat with the goat giant with his body. Though its massive bulk bent back slightly, Will was still leaping into a death trap. However, if he hadn't done so, he wouldn't have been able to protect Lenore. The goat grabbed Will and lifted him up and held him high into the air. It was like a little kid showing off his favorite toy and waving it around.
Let's hear your...
Should just be like,
let's hear your theory.
It's being waved around.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If I'm to hear a great theory before I die, it'll be fitting in for... Vandine and Nox rule are useless for making theories.
The goat's massive hands closed on Will like a vice. All the bones in Will's body were creaking.
Let's hear your theory. There is no need for a theory.
What?
What is this? Ah!
After all, making theories for any of Beatrice's games is a waste of time.
What do you mean? Why?
Because it's a true event that they're trying to solve.
This isn't an orthodox mystery, so thinking about it is just a waste of time. I would accept Beatrice's game as a mystery. There are no answers to the tricks. It's all just an illusion. Thinking it's just a waste of time? What?
If it's an illusion, doesn't that mean the others can come back to life? Like, that their effects work? It's just this, like, endless
It's kind
cycle.
of like an endless circle. Will's head was lowered, so his face couldn't be seen. However, the arm of the goat holding him was shaking. The embrace of those log-sized arms with superhuman strength was being slowly pushed away by Will's shaking arms.
Thinking it's just a waste of time? You say that, and you call yourself a mystery novel reader? The mystery genre is like chivalry. You fight with the noble rules you've created, with pride in the stance you've taken. Is it worth being called being a coward if it'll help you win? Does losing make the whole fight meaningless if you fought with everything you had? This isn't about winning or losing. It's about applauding the will to fight, even in the most dire circumstances. Go, 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 go.
The goat's arms were now spread wide, and it looked as though Will was now the one pushing it back. Will's face was covered in shadow and couldn't be seen.
People like you, who call themselves mystery readers even though they never even try to solve mysteries.
Oh, this is me. He's talking about me.
You're the ones I really can't stand.
I just like
Yeah,
to
we
enjoy
got
it.
we got you to try and do some stuff. Will slammed his forehead into the goat's now unprotected head.
If you call yourself a mystery reader, be proud to join in on a battle of wits. If you call yourself a mystery reader, it's about time you realized. Giving up is nothing to brag about.
Will hit it with his head over and over again. His forehead had been torn apart by the goat's fangs, but he kept on hitting it. Van Dien and Knox may be behind the times. The mystery genre does progress with time, just like the world around it. However, there's one thing that never changes. That is pride. What is a knight proud of? Not victory. He's proud of his courage, which lets him stand up to anyone without fear. Will couldn't forgive the knight, kind of coward, who would turn tail from a fight and then brag about it. People who call themselves mystery readers, but who have no pride, are the only people Will just can't stand. The goat, unable to put up with this anymore, threw Will down to the floor. Then he lifted his fists again, determined to crush Will to pieces this time.
Come, you probably will beat me to a pulp, but that'll be no victory for you. You'll destroy your own pride with your own hands. Pointless, pointless. This is no mystery, so why make these theories? Thinking it's just a waste of time. Useless, useless, useless. Die, die, die.
A fist like a cannonball swinging down towards him was the very last thing Will saw before he shut his eyes. I don't know. In this game, if you stop thinking...
Oh, that
Called it. Luckily, it was a guess.
In this game, if you give up, that means you lose, right?
Battler smashed his fist into the goat's mouth and smashed teeth bouncing. Bounced off the ceiling. What is that sentence?
Battler-sama. If you stop thinking, it means you've given up on the story being a mystery. Which means, as far as you're concerned, this game is a fantasy.
It's the endless circle. Oh my goodness.
Yep. Battler lifted up his arm. Realizing this was a signal, Lucifer and Siesta00 jumped.
If you've stopped thinking, you don't deserve to be an actor on the stage. Stop trying to sound smart and go eat some popcorn from the stands or something.
The goat lifted his fist again, then swung it down at Battler like a hammer.
What does he fight with?
I think he's using his fist right now, but he does have the golden sword.
True.
If you've surrendered to fantasy,
That just makes you another target, yeah?
it's the same as acknowledging that they exist. Begin recognition of hostile elements. Mark all targets vulnerable to magic attacks on our HMDs.
Kids who surrender to fantasy get to deal with us.
And if you have a theory, we will hear it out.
We'll welcome those people with open arms. Out of respect for them, we won't hold anything back.
Oh, but it would seem that this is Battler-sama's time to shine.
Well, I'd like to listen to all your favorite theories, both mystery and fantasy. This isn't your game right now. No matter how much you future fragments try to deny us, this is no time for me to be defeated.
A golden glint gathered in Battler's hand. It was so bright that the whole hall was bathed in gold. Golden butterflies flitted about, as though the whole room was being swallowed up by the golden land. Battler lifted his golden longsword high.
Feel free to challenge Beato's game as a mystery or a fantasy. I welcome it. But I'm not going to let you deny this final game of mine. Feel the shame of your indiscretion, of impugning the honor of those who have passed away.
It's impugning.
Pugning.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like defiling?
It's from impunity. It's a... I will look this one up because it's a good word to know because it is used a lot in human rights and stuff. But...
Sounds like something you'd hear in a court.
Yeah, okay. So it is... Impunity is exemption from punishment or freedom from the injurious... Oh my goodness. Consequences of an action. What does impunity mean in simple terms? It's freedom from punishment, harm, or... I'm thinking of punity. So punity is is the ability to act with exemption from punishments, losses, or other negative consequences. In the international law of human rights, impunity is failure to bring perpetrators of human rights violations to justice, and as such itself constitutes a denial of the victim's right to justice and redress. Okay. So it's having freedom from the consequences of your actions, but generally this is used in a bad way. Oh, I
Yeah,
guess it is
I get
like,
it.
yeah. Let me just check that this is the same word and I haven't. Impug. What was the spelling? Impug. Impugn. Oh no, it's different. Two similar words. Impugn. So, despite the truth, validity, or honesty of a statement or motive, you call into question.
Okay.
The example is the father does not impugn her capacity as a good mother. It's to assail, to impugn someone means to assail by words or arguments, oppose or attack as false or lacking integrity. Impugned the defendant's character. So an example could be, he impugned his rival's character. Her motives have been scrutinized and impugned. Let's check. Yeah, it is impugn. To act with impunity. Oh no, it goes back. So impunity, they must be connected, the two words. So it's basically like you call into question or you challenge.
Yeah, yeah. They're questioning all those who've died and their characters. Alright, continue.
Mm-hmm.
A slice of the golden longsword flooded the hall with a sea of golden light. Then the whole group of goats clambering about the hall turned into clouds of gold butterflies and scattered. Even so, only about 100 of them had been wiped out. Before long, the massive crowds of goats outside would probably come pouring in. The seal Gertrude and the others are working on will be finished in a bit. Sorry, but I'll have to ask you to hold out here a bit longer. Of course, Lord Battler.
Otherwise, we wouldn't get to show off. Oh, do they get to fight?
You know, you two could try fighting just a little.
But
Where?
just
the
MCs. Their excessively blunt refusal drew a few strained smiles. However, it had lessened the tension in the room just a bit.
Battler Summer! Leave this to us!
We won't allow the erosion to proceed any further.
And not one of us will be left behind.
Of course. We are all precious pieces on Lord Battler's game board.
The Seven Sisters of Purgatory, the Siesta Sister Corps, and everyone else nodded forcefully.
Yeah, I'm counting on all of you. We'll definitely protect this final game I made for Anji. They're managing to hold their ground down below.
The door to the Golden Land continues to open slowly. It will still take some time, though.
That's right. We'd better start buying some time ourselves.
The sea of goats that covered the ground below them was jostling about more and more. By now, even the sea surrounding the island had disappeared. The horizon was gone, and the chewed-up island was now floating on an eerie emptiness like space. The goats that flooded the edges of Rakenjima seemed to be spilling off the sides.
Looks like that's it for this game board.
As long as there's a game master and pieces, the game board can always be laid out again. As long as you have two people together, you can create any sort of game.
True. Where on earth is Anji?
Where did you hide that?
That's right, the chapel. What's happened to the chapel?
It's still there.
The chapel looked like a white building floating in the pitch-black sea of goats. Yes. This was strange. There was no way those goats who consumed everything would go out of their way to avoid just the chapel.
That's where Anji is.
Outside the chapel was a sea of goats. Very soon the earth around the chapel would be eaten away, and it would probably end up floating on nothingness. The rampage of the goats as they devoured everything and recited the tragedies they had imagined was truly making a lot of noise. However, none of that reached inside the chapel. Anji finally broke the magic seal on the entrance and stepped inside. The seal was supposed to be unbreakable by anyone. However, in the face of Anji Beatrice, Witch of Truth, the one who sought the truth and could sweep aside all forces that prevented her from finding it, no barrier was absolute.
There it is.
A single book, tightly locked, rested on the altar. It was the hidden diary that Ushirimiya Eva had continued to write, even in her later years. The Book of the Single Truth. It was the one Featherin had shown her in the world of 1998.
This time, I have the key. I gripped the gold key that sat in my pocket, the key Oni-chan had gave me. As I approached the altar, I saw that the Book of the Single Truth was wrapped in a strange bending of the light. So, this is that seal of the Game Master that Burncastle talked about. The Book of the Single Truth was sealed in something like a crystal. It was a seal made by the Game Master's authority. This was on a different level than the breakable magic seal that was on the chapel door.
No matter how Anji used her power as a Witch of Truth, this couldn't be broken by anyone except the Game Master. However, this time, Battler wasn't the only Game Master.
So sorry, Oni-chan. Burncastle is a Game Master too. I just need to take this to her and have her break the seal.
Anji slowly approached the altar.
Will Anji really do as you say?
This is my little sister we're talking about. So yeah, probably not.
Then what will we do?
Looks like we've got nothing to go on but brute force.
At that moment, a fierce impact hit the pair of them. Beato was flung away and Battler was sealed inside a massive crystal that extended up to the heavens.
Damn, what the hell is this?
Battler! What is this?
It was a barrier, a massive cage of crystal. Battler was shut inside a crystal cage like a tower, so large that you had to look up to see the top.
Beato, I need you to take care of Anji.
What will you do? Can you break free from this all by yourself? From the inside? Is this a closed room barrier? Who could have?
There's only one person who'd challenge me with the closed room. Looks like our final guest has finally arrived.
You don't mean...
Go, and take care of Anji.
Beato left Battler to handle this on his own and headed for the chapel. Battler took a deep breath and smiled daringly. I've been waiting for you. Was it boring in the depths of Oblivion Place?
Let's track it back. What do you call it?
OST?
This
Background music?
Yeah, the background music is. I kind of like it. It's funky.
This has been around for a long time.
I don't remember it. Sometimes I've got the volume turned down really softly.
Yeah. The answer was a laugh. Yeah, that's right. That laugh is enough. Looks like you're doing well.
It wasn't boring. After all, I believed.
I'll bet you did. I believe too. It's taken off the cape.
Yeah.
Battler flung off the cape of the Territory Lord. It was only to get in the way. And it would be a rude way to welcome his final guest.
Is that because she also used to be a territory lord?
I think it's more like... Because he's a game master, so he knows like all the tricks and stuff.
Yeah.
And so she's presenting him like a riddle, I guess. And rather than like going in with all the answers, he wants to like go in like with a fresh slate.
Oh, I see.
Those dark depths were the perfect place to think up mysteries I could fight with you with I could fight you with when we met again.
So this crystal cage is the ring for our duel. A chain deathmatch with nowhere to run.
Now that you mention it, we're always fighting over closed rooms with chains.
Then let's use that. Make it a real chain deathmatch.
I'm prepared, but what about you?
I am. I told you, didn't I? I believe too. At the same time, they both brandished their mysteries, sealing the other in a chain-closed room. Come, Fruto Erica!
Entertain me, Bratlasra!
Why doesn't Uwu speak? She's never Uwu'd before. Why?
Yeah, she has. At the same time, they were both sealed inside a closed room, locked with a chain. Of course, it was easy to set and unset the chain from the inside. However, stepping into their opponent's chained room would be difficult. They were fighting to the death with two chain closed rooms at once. There could be no better closed room duel for these two, who had battled with theories concerning chained rooms so often. Fruto Erica committed suicide, died in an accident, died of illness, died by some reason other than homicide.
It wasn't a suicide, it was an accidental death. It wasn't a death by illness. I really was killed by you, Battler-san.
It was a murder committed by slipping poison gas through the crack of the door, by filling the room with water and drowning you by sucking the oxygen out of the room and making you suffocate.
There was no poison gas, there was no drowning, there was no death by suffocation.
It just seems so silly.
Yeah, you gotta get all of the possibilities out of the way then, that's how it works.
A closed room murder with poison gas, death by drowning, suffocation.
Crazy, right? It's funny, isn't it?
Good. Ishiremi, a battler, committed suicide. He died in an accident. He was killed by an illness. Time for me to test your closed room.
Red truth. Ishiremi, a battler, was stabbed to death. Let's say the weapon was a knife stuck right into his back.
Good. Nothing beats a classic closed room.
Then why don't you try it too?
I'll take that challenge with the red truth. Furuto Erica was stabbed to death. The weapon was a knife stuck right in her back.
Interesting. I'll tear your closed room to bits.
What's this supposed to be? Butler is busy at the moment. For now, I shall be your opponent.
Beato had sealed the chapel with a closed room barrier. Unless that riddle was smashed with blue truth, Anji wouldn't be able to leave. After shrugging impatiently, Anji finally faced Beato.
This might be the first time I've fought you directly. Oh, is it now? Very well, let's see what you've got. However, Battler isn't here at the moment. When he's not around, I sometimes forget to hold back. What a coincidence. I feel the same.
I just noticed, like, you know how she has those pink ball things in her hair?
Yeah? She's not wearing them?
No, they're black.
Really? Okay. I ordered something, so I have to go get it. I killed you inside a perfect closed room with windows, doors, and all other methods of entry or exit blocked. Okay, I'll play along with your game. Repeat it. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Did you know it was the end after that?
I knew it was coming, but not after 2 lines.
I thought it was going to be a full-on, like...
Nah, that's what it'll get into now, I think.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Well, you've become a goat.
I've become a goat. No.
And you're gonna be gnawing at something.
I won't be a goat. I don't want to be a goat.
What do you got, a burger? A brick burger?
I want some ice cream. Very naughty.
Well, what's gonna happen next? What do you think?
So, I don't know. It'll either go back and forward between Anji's battle and Battler's battle, or we'll focus like entirely on Anji and Beatrice's battle, and then go to the other one. That's sort of the pattern that we've had in previous games. Who wins? I'm not sure. I don't know. Like, part of me feels that Anji will end up using the key to open the book, but then there's another part of me that's like, well, obviously they've got like a plan to try and stop her and convince her that it's not the right thing to do.
Well, the plan was the game he had made.
Yeah. Well, he's
And then
gonna come up
she
with
got-
another plan.
She was, like, resistant to it, and then she was taken by Burn as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, it seems unlikely that she will do what Battler wants, because he keeps saying, like, there's something he wants her to choose. But it is her choice still in the end.
I
You can't force it.
did find it interesting too how it, like, their reaction to it. They're like, nobody wants us to live like peaceful life. I feel like that can happen
What?
in real life though, like
Yeah,
there's the
yeah, yeah.
truth, but then especially with like social media and just the
Yeah,
internet.
no,
like,
I was going to bring this up later, because one of the characters also mentions this later, and I thought it would be a better point then. But
okay.
because you brought it up now, I think we can talk about it.
Alright.
It's yeah, after reading this story, yeah, I kind of had the same thing with, like, because there's all those even like a documentary, podcast, videos and stuff like that on like crimes, murders, all these things, and it's like,
Even just reality TV.
yeah, okay, that's true as well.
That's like, because you can have like, there is the truth, because you've got
Yeah,
reality
yeah.
TV is what like people can see. So I don't know what you could compare that to in Umineko and like the clues that we have. Or maybe it's like just what people know. But then there's like this stuff, I guess that's the cat box that you don't see, like when the cameras are off, and it's like he said, she said, they said, and then you've got
Yeah.
like some people are just like determined to believe that some people are like the villain characters, and they might actually be really nice and have like
Yeah.
good things, but because things have been edited in a certain way and that's what they see, like they won't accept any other truth. Even I didn't realize there's so many more things you could go into it. It's like people
Yeah,
who
you could.
act as a character. You still have some people who believe that they are actually
They are
that
like
character,
that.
yeah.
Like, there's the people who like always play the villains, and they're like, oh, this guy's a scumbag.
Yeah, and because I remember like hearing some interviews of some actresses who play like the villain character in a soap opera or something, and will say they'll have like people come up to them and tell them that they hate them and just like, how dare you do this to Mr. Stuffles or like something stupid. And it's like, do you understand like that's an acted character? It's not the real person.
Yeah, some people just can't distinguish the two. It's to them the story is their life. It's the real life.
Yeah.
And then the actor is like it's the same. I don't know, just the same in real life.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like in the case of like actual like crimes and stuff, missing persons and like murders and stuff. Actually, I was reading Reddit, alright, the other day, and there was like a missing person post on, I think it was like a Bali subreddit or something.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a girl who had gone missing, and I think it was the boyfriend who like put up like a Facebook post for like, hey, she's missing, this is the details and stuff like that. And like the story was like he had an argument with her, and like she left, like she took a cab somewhere, and then he hadn't seen her since, and like he put that post up like the next day and she hadn't come back. And like people were questioning it, and like you know how it goes with the internet, it's like they were like he seems really suspicious with the stuff he's saying and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And like people are like, oh, he's definitely killed her and stuff like that. And no, she turned up the next day. It was like,
Wait, she turned up alive?
yeah, she was alive. I don't know like the details, but I guess she had just gone off on her own somewhere and then came back later. But like, yeah, in between that time, before that had happened, and even after, when people didn't know that she had been found alive, people were still like painting this guy out to be like, oh, he was a murderer, he was the culprit.
Yeah.
It was exactly like the goats, how they're like, this is what happened, I'm pretty sure this guy's the culprit because of this and this and this. It was like, it's like there's real people involved in these situations. Like, if even in situations where like people don't turn up, you've got the families of the victims and like families of, I guess, the accused. Some people like theorize people are suspects or culprits without like, they're not even detectives, they're literally just people in the watching a video or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, if you, in some way, I'd get like, if your loved one had been like killed, and you'd want answers, and you'd want to know who did it, why, and all that stuff. But then like, just to like drag it on and like to have it being brought up again and again and again, like to see it all the time, it's just like weigh down on you, I feel like.
Yeah. It like, that's the thing with like internet trolls and like hate that you get online. A lot of the times people don't think that there's like a real person
Yeah.
on the other end of that. Did I ever tell you about the time I got internet hate?
What, yesterday?
What are you talking about? What? You're the biggest troll. No, I received internet hate without people knowing who I was. And
What,
it was
how long ago was this?
this
Was
is
this like,
a long, long time ago.
yeah,
So
okay.
this is when like Facebook was not Facebook. It was kind of phasing out for like the younger people and going into the mum territory, but you still had a lot of like, what are we, millennials, using Facebook. So it hadn't quite become the like graveyard of the internet. It's not really a graveyard yet. I think that's still MySpace. No, but so do you remember how like we had a family member get married
Yeah.
and I slept in? Do you remember that? Were you there?
I was there.
Did you go to
The wedding, yeah.
Okay. No. Like, okay, you know how there was, like, they had to travel to a place,
Yeah.
in another area, like another city.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the part. So I didn't miss the wedding. This is what is not defined. I just missed being outside waiting for them to come out of, like, let's say the hall. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah. You know what I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the photographer was someone I was supposed to pick up from the airport and take to that place.
Yes.
And yeah, like, it's all coming back now. And I slept in. I don't think my alarm went off either. And I missed picking them up, and I woke up and I had, like, phone calls or messages being like, are you okay? Like, I got in contact with family and they were like, it's fine, don't panic, don't rush, we just want to make sure you're safe and you haven't had a car accident. Which helped, because I was like, oh my goodness. So I, instead of going to the original place I was supposed to drop the photographer off, I went to the place where everybody was getting ready for the wedding, so where all the bridesmaids were doing their, like, hair and makeup and dress and stuff. So I did that stuff, and the photographer is quite a I guess you could say, like, affluent photographer in the wedding world, and he posted about, like, not tagging me or mentioning my name, but was, like, just saying, like, crazy things, like, it's the first time I've been to a wedding where, like, the sister and, like, maid of honor, like, slept through the wedding, and all the comments were so mean underneath, Decky. It was like,
That's
like,
deserved. That's what you get.
I would disown her. I would never talk to her again. How could she dare do that? Blah 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 blah. And it's so, like, it's tricky because I remember at the time, the person who was getting married, I talked to them and they were like, you know what, it's okay. Like, we knew why. But then, like, now it's just like, yeah, I was annoyed. I'm just like, eh. Because what he didn't explain in that post was that the person getting married was supposed to come and stay with me the night before, and then we were going to drive together to the hall where they had to do the things, and that because of things happening and like, stuff didn't go according to plan on the, like, wedding party, I guess, side. So I ended up waiting up really, like, late. I'd been, like, that week leading up to the wedding was, like, my finals for uni as well. So I had not had very much sleep at all. Then I'm, like, staying up really late, waiting for this person to arrive, and then they had to cancel and say, like, actually, no, wait, we've had to, like, change of plans, haven't left yet. So I stayed up late for nothing. So I was, like, mega sleep deprived. And yeah, I slept in. I don't know. Later on, found out I've got, like, I have sleeping problems anyway. It just, I don't know. It just felt like, really. And I was there for the ceremony. I walked down the aisle. Like, I did my maid of honor duties and was there for the reception and the speech. Like, I was there for everything. It was just this one bit, and the thing that I missed, I couldn't go in and watch anyway. I really just missed being there for when they came out of the building and being like, woo, and then leaving. It was like a 5 to 10 minute thing that I missed, and that's what people don't understand. If I missed the actual ceremony, then yeah, that's very bad. But I didn't. But that wasn't explained. And the interesting thing is, I don't know whether he realized afterwards, but the post, he did delete it a couple of days later. And I don't know whether it was because of the amount of negative comments that post had underneath it. But I remembered reading through it, and I felt like the worst person on the earth, and like also really misunderstood. Like at the same time, I knew that like the people who mattered and the people that were important, they knew what had happened, and they knew that I hadn't actually missed the wedding, because that's how it came across in the post. But still, like reading like these comments of people talking about you, even though it's silly, it's still really hurt.
Sounds like a lot of excuses to me.
I was there. You were there. You know I was there.
That was an interesting segue.
Yeah,
We went to that from, what?
from like online hate
Yeah.
and people wanting to
mean-
believe what they want to believe.
I mean, I'm not necessarily only talking about hate. Like, I
I feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of like principles and scenarios that it applies to, though.
Yeah, oh no, for sure. But like, I mean, if we're talking in the case of like actual crimes, things like that, it's
You go back to crime, I'm on like internet online hate.
yeah,
and
no,
reality
it
TV.
does make sense in your case as well. But like, you're dealing with people who like treat it like a game, kind of like what we're doing in Umineko.
Yeah.
It's like people died.
Yeah.
There are victims.
Yeah.
And people like nonchalantly just like armchair detectiving like a real situation, and they're getting enjoyment out of that.
Yeah.
And it has like kind of changed my perspective on that kind of thing.
Yeah, because you have like the families who have to deal with that as well, and that can
Yeah,
be
yeah,
pretty
exactly.
hurtful.
It's like-
especially in the cases where I guess we can call them perpetrator of the crime has like severe like handicap, or they've got like a mental illness or a mental disorder, and that's where it gets really like it's not saying that.
Like, oh yeah, it's fine that you did this.
Well,
it's just, like,
no, it's not saying
difficult.
that like bad action shouldn't be punished,
Yeah, yeah.
but at the same time, it's also like, I think there needs to be a degree of like sensitivity over how there's like, I don't know, there's like a mentally disabled person doing something that they don't understand because they've got like the mental age of a 3-year-old, but they're really like 35. Is different to like someone who's going and like premeditating
Yeah.
plans to like kidnap or like capture or like do horrible things to other people and then try and hide it.
Yeah.
Like both are still not good. But I just feel like a different sensitivity is needed to handle. I just don't know. I just don't see how you can like handle them both the same.
Yeah, things are just quite difficult, I'd say.
It's
These
very,
days.
it's very
People
tricky. I wouldn't really want to be a judge in those situations. It's like,
Yeah, people are abusing like the not mentally sound kind of argument for their cases. Like they did something and they're like, oh well, they had this going on which affected them mentally, which did this, and it's like
that does also make it harder for the people that like genuinely have,
legitimately do. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like it's harder to take it seriously, even though it may very well have been like a legitimate thing.
Yeah.
Because so many people have abused it, it's like you don't know when you can like believe people anymore. It's
And so much like
tough.
cynicism out there too.
Yeah.
Which it's hard because you also need it.
Yeah,
There's so many people trying to trick you too.
It's fine. It's just the way it is.
We'll just have to see them as millions and millions of goats wearing suits and have really buff legs and arms.
They're all buff. When in reality.
That's true. Hey, you never know. They are the goats.
I am a goat.
Yes, you're the GOAT.
I cannot believe you just said that. That was the cringiest thing I've ever heard you say. What were you gonna say?
I don't know. We just started talking about goats. Will there be more goats in the next episode of Umineko?
I think there'll be goats for like the next several chapters at least. I can imagine.
Can you, like, when there's that scene of the goats, can you just like get goat face pictures and like just have them like slowly fading into the screen when we're talking about goat eyes?
No.
Why
It's too much work.
not? Please.
No, it's been almost 2 hours. I will not. That's 2 hours of editing.
You ought to
And
edit
then-
out my stuff too.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it takes that long to edit something out. It's just going through it all to make sure it's in check.
Yeah,
That's
it's normally like double the time of the recording.
Otherwise, I would just cut. Yeah, I've told you already. I would just cut things and focus on the main points. But that's not what this playthrough is. Alright, we'll leave it there for this one.
We'll see you next week.